Today we're going to be talking about setting in us and how to obtain a permanent visa. First, my name is Carllo Castriota. I'm from Minas Gerais, from south of Minas, and I arrived in Australia in 2005. And like a lot of the immigrants, like I couldn't even speak English when I got here. And in 2010, I started studying law. I had a bachelor degree in Brazil. And in Australia, I have to study another 3.5 years. And after that, I started working as a solicitor, as a lawyer in 2014. And since then, I have been just working with migration. There is difference between migration agents and solicitors. At the moment, I'm both of them. But pretty soon, solicitors won't need to be registered as a migration agent anymore, and we're going to be able to act as a migration agent, which is going to be great for me. It's going to be one license less to pay. So the business that I have another migration agent, Carllo Castriota, and the way that I work, I had a chance to grow my business and have employees, but I prefer to work by myself. I do all the process by myself. I have a limit capacity of getting clients. But whenever someone signs in with me, they won't be speaking with anybody else or with a secretary or a case manager. They're going to be talking directly to me. That's the advantage of working with Blue Migration with me. And Kate, we always have two agents reviewing the clients, the process. Every time that I prepare an application, Kate reviews it. And so that's a way that we work to minimize risks of committing mistakes. And that's how we work, guys. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about sponsorship, a lot about the lists, but the focus is going to be on the 485 visa and some tips of how you can get the graduate visa studying some course from MARN, some diplomas and advanced diplomas. And if you guys have any questions, just put on the Facebook, and Pedro can select some of them so I can answer them at the end of the seminar. Is that all right, Pedro?
Yes, yeah, like that sounds great. Yeah, I think
if you see any question that you think would be relevant, you can also ask me at any time. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
All right. So before we started, it's important to know a little bit about the lists, the occupation lists that we have in Australia. I don't know how knowledgeable everybody is at the moment, but in Australia, the Department of Home Affairs, they created 3 occupation lists, okay? The best occupation list to be in is the first one, the medium and long-term strategic skill list, which is the list of occupations that the Australian economy believes that is going to be in high demand, okay, in a long term. So that's the best list to be in. Like if you are a systems analyst, business analyst, developer, or civil engineer, you can find this list on if you Google MLT SSL, you're going to find the 212 occupations under that list. Okay, if you are on the short list, there are 650 occupations there. There are occupations that the government believes that's going to be in a short period of time. It's going to be in demand only for a short period of time. Okay, it's not the best list to be in, but it's not. There are some possibilities of getting permanent visa as well if you are on the short list. And there is a regional occupation list which can be used only for sponsorships in regional area. Okay, so I believe today I'm going to be talking to a lot of people that might be under the medium long-term list, and so just so you know. Just open this list on Google later on, check where your occupation is located, or if you need my help to do that as well, you can always book an appointment so we can discuss your case in details. Okay, so for you to understand a little bit what's happening, because there is a lot of talking about about Australia being closing their doors and being making harder to stay here and all those sort of things, right? First of all, Australia is not closing their doors, their borders. Okay, the country depends on the immigrants. All right, that's how it's capitalism. Right, we don't have enough people here to grow the economy. So the country Australia is reliant on the immigrants. Okay, but the whole world nowadays wants to come to Australia. The economy here it's awesome. The weather is beautiful. So what the government is doing, they are selecting a bit better to who are going to be getting these permanent visas. Okay, so this graphic that I just did now is just so you just for you to visualize what is happening. Right, they are filtering who gets the permanent visa. The government is it's aiming to get professionals, people that are qualified under the medium long-term skill strategic list, and everything's important for you to pass through this filter. You're probably going to have to do a skills assessment. Your age is important, your work experience, your qualification, and your level of English. Okay, if you are not on the medium and long-term strategic skill list, you are outside of this filter. Okay, there are chances for you to get the permanent visa, but it's going to be a bit harder. Okay, and a little bit you're going to have less options to get the PR. And if you are thinking about coming to Australia to qualify yourself or to study something, these are the industries that are going to be in high demand in the next years. Okay, health industry, education, IT. I put TI here in Portuguese, but it's IT, engineers or trades. Okay. So a simple, easy way to understand how to get a permanent visa in Australia. These 3 squares are the 3 avenues that you can reach the permanent visa. Okay, you can even try to reach all 3 at the same time, but you have to understand that your strategy to get a permanent visa is going to be depending on somebody else or something else for you to reach the PR. Okay, if you go through the first pathway, employer sponsored, you're going to be depending on an employer. You're going to need to find a company that is willing to offer you a full-time job offer. Okay, your occupation must be in one of the lists, and you must have experience to be sponsored. If you don't have experience, you cannot be sponsored by a company. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about, in relation to this first avenue. The second avenue is the skilled visa, is the points test. Okay, here you don't need an employer. You just need to make points. That's the important thing. The highest point you have, the higher is going to be your chance of getting an invitation from the government to apply for the permanent visa. This skilled program here, it was created in 1944, I think, in the Second World War, when there was nobody to work in Australia. Most of the men died in the war, and they need people to work here. That's when they created the skilled pathway, and it still existed. Okay, it's a way that they found to filter the type of professionals that they want in Australia. Okay. The third way, we're not going to be talking about this one today, but it's the famous partner visa. Okay, if you come to Australia in a student visa or in a temporary visa, and if you find the love of your life, you find a partner, you find someone to live with, that's a way to stay in Australia as well. This is all about relationship. You don't need IELTS, you don't need English, you don't need anything here. You just need to live together and show to the department that you are committed to each other. Okay, so today we're going to be talking a little bit about the employer-sponsored avenue and the skilled visa. And I'm going to finalize the seminar talking about the graduate visa. Okay, the graduate visa, as I said, is the visa that is going to buy you time so you can try to get one of those 3 pathways. Okay. So let's talk about depending on an employer. the sponsored visa. I like to talk about this pathway because for IT professionals, I have so many clients from that are qualified in IT, business analyst, systems engineer, developer, programmer. They come to Australia to study English or to study something else, you know, and they start working for someone 20 hours per week. And they are good at what they do. The company likes them and they offer them the sponsorship. This sponsorship, it's a great way for you guys from IT to stay in Australia. I don't say much about engineers because in a student visa, when you can work only 20 hours per week, it's harder for an engineer to get a 20 hours job, a 20 hours per week job, compared to an IT, okay, professional. So, but it's not impossible. I have seen engineers working 20 hours per week and finding sponsor opportunities. So the difference between the three sponsor visas are: the 482 is the temporary work visa. For IT professionals, if you don't have a bachelor degree in your occupation, but you have more than 5 years work experience, you can be sponsored by a company without having qualification and without doing the skills assessment. This 482 visa does not require skills assessment. It's the only one that does not require skills assessment. The 186 direct entry and the 494 requires a skills assessment, okay? So it's a great way to stay in Australia if your occupation is on the medium long-term list. Because if it's on the short list, there is not a pathway to get a PR, okay? So if you come to Australia, you find an opportunity, you just need to prove 2 years full-time work experience for the 482 visa, and IELTS overall 5. Okay, sorry, 5 in each band of the IELTS test, okay? Mm-hmm. The 186 permanent visa, it's a great way to get a PR much quicker, okay? Usually employers don't like to use this visa because after you get the 186 granted, you can say goodbye to them. There is no way for them to keep you there. You don't have any obligations to stay with the company. So the way that they like to do is to sponsor you under the 482, so they can keep you there for 3 years. For then, they can give you the permanent visa through the temporary resident transition stream. That's the way that they like to do. However, there are a lot of companies that prefer to help you out, you know, and they don't mind giving you the permanent visa straight away. For you to be sponsored by a company and get the permanent visa straight away, you need 3 years full-time work experience post-qualification. You need to do the skills assessment with Australian Computer Society or Engineers Australia, and you need 6 on each band of the IELTS exam. Okay, these requirements are the same requirements for the regional visa as well. You need 3 years full-time work experience post-qualification, 6 on each component of the IELTS, and the skills assessment approved. Okay, so these requirements here, guys, whenever you come to Australia to start studying at MARN Room and you start looking for a job, you know, and if you find an opportunity, just get in touch with me, contact me. I can tell you if you are able to be sponsored. I can contact your employer to check if their company can sponsor you as well. It's a great opportunity, okay? And I think it depends more on you than the skilled visa, which is about points, and you don't know if you're going to be invited or not, you know. We're going to be talking about the skilled visa pretty soon. So how do you prove your work experience? You need to prove that you received money for that work, okay? So we need letters from your previous employers stating that you guys work there, your position, what you used to do. But a letter, anyone can get that. Imagine countries like Brazil, India, China, where you can get anything, even if it's not true, you know? So that's why you need to back up your letter with payslips, tax returns, bank statements, documents that you cannot you cannot create it. Okay, and so if you want to prove your work experience, prepare your pay slips, prepare all the evidence that shows that you got paid for that.
Okay. All right, a quick question. Now, especially in ICT, we have many professionals who are self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, a bank statement proving the transfer from the company who hired them, or a letter from those companies, would it help or not? What could help for those who are self-employed?
If they're self-employed, and let's say I'm providing a service for you, Pedro, I'm going to send you an invoice. So I can show you the invoice plus the payment that you did on my bank statement. The problem starts when everything is in cash and the self-employed didn't want to pay tax or just want to hide that income, then they cannot prove. Okay. That's when the problem starts. But if you are a self-employed, that's totally fine. You can get a letter from your accountant. Your accounting state that they do your tax return, a letter from the person or the company that you provided the service, plus evidence that you got paid for that service.
Mm-hmm. And another question here, part-time is not accepted at all.
Part-time is accepted. Casual employment is not accepted.
Okay. All right.
So if you are working in Australia, getting paid by a company, and they are putting on your that you are employed as a casual, to ask them to change you to a part-time on a part-time base, or ask them to pay you under your ABN, but not as under casual, because the Department of Home Affairs does not accept casual work experience.
All right.
Or any of the sponsor visas.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the second avenue, which is the points test, the skilled visa. The points test, let's say that it's a competition where the government is going to offer permanent visas for all the candidates that has the highest points. For example, last July, I think I got a slide here. This is the last invitation round issued on the 14th of July. The government gave 500 invitations for the permanent visa 189 and 100 invitations for the temporary visa 491. And these 500 people that got this invitation here, they were selected electronically. Okay, these are the 500 people that had the highest point on their list, on their electronic list. So it's all about point. They don't care about from where you are coming from or your qualifications or anything like that. So the candidates that were invited all had more than 90 points. Okay, 90 was the cutoff mark. So if you guys want to have a great chance to be invited for this program, you need to aim to have more than 85 points for sure. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult to get an invitation. Okay, that's my tip for you. So how this process works? The minimum points required is 65, but as I showed you, with 65 points, 70 points, 75, you probably won't receive an invitation to apply for these visas. Okay, this process, the first step that you have to do is the skills assessment. You need to be assessed by the authority responsible for your occupation. For IT, you need to be assessed by Australian Computer Society. For engineers, by Engineers Australia. Okay, just after getting their letter confirming that you are a business analyst in Australia or a civil engineer, that's when we can calculate your points and express your interest. This is an online application. You don't pay for that. You express your interest. You declare all the points that you can prove on that online application, submit it, and that's it. You are competing. Okay. You do not get a bridging visa for that. This is not a visa application. This expression of interest here It's only you asking the government for a visa, for a permanent visa. Can you give me a visa? And that's it. You can do this expression of interest from anywhere in the world. You don't need to be in Australia, because this program was created for you to apply from offshore. But a lot of people is applying onshore. That's totally fine. Okay, but you can be anywhere in the world and express your interest if you have the minimum 65 points. Okay. After express your interest, if you get an invitation, then you have 60 days to apply for your visa. That's when you are going to prove that all the points that you declare having in that expression of interest application. Okay. Applying this visa, you then receive the bridging visa A. Okay, what is the advantage of this program here? The advantage is that if you get a permanent visa in Australia, you don't need to work as a systems analyst or anything like you don't need to work in your occupation. There is no requirement for that. You can do whatever you want if you got the 189 permanent visa. Okay. So if you got that's the option that I suggest everyone to aim for this program. There is ways to create a strategy to come to Australia to study 2 years. You can make points studying in Australia, improving your English. You can create a strategy to reach that 80, 85, 95, 105 points. It depends on you, you know. So did I lose you, Pedro?
No, I'm here.
Okay, right.
All good.
So a lot of people ask me, oh, should I, but I would like to focus, I would like to aim the skilled visa, Carl. I don't want to aim on the employer pathway, because I don't want to depend on employer, you know. And what you have to understand is that you need to aim both of them. You cannot aim just one of them. Okay, if you have an opportunity to find an employer and work for someone, why not? This avenue two here, the skilled visas, is not guaranteed that you're going to get a permanent visa. So just aim on getting a sponsor visa, as well as in building up your points. Okay. So this is just some numbers that I got from the Department of Home Affairs website about the current numbers offered, the number of occupations available for engineers in this new financial year, 2020-2021. Okay, you can see here, civil engineer, 3,900. They actually increased from last year to this year. Chemical and material engineers, electrical, industrial, mechanical, 2,682. So you can find this information on the Department of Home Affairs website. Okay, and this is the number of occupations available for ITs in 2020, 2021. Okay, software and applications programmers, 8,500 almost. That's a high number. You know, usually the minimum number offered is 1,000. Yes, that's the minimum that they can offer. Okay. So, and this was the last invitation round that I showed you. So let's talk about the graduate visa, which is the purpose of this seminar. There are two streams, two types of graduate visa 485. Okay. There is the graduate work stream, which is the yellow one, and there is this post-study work stream. The difference between both of them is that post-study work stream gives you more time of visa 485 for you to be able to work full-time in Australia, but you must study a bachelor degree, master degree, or doctorate degree. Okay, this pathway of post-study work stream is only available for students that arrived in Australia for the first time after 5th of November 2011. So if someone came to Australia in 2008 as a student, come to Australia and apply for a master degree in IT, you will not be able to apply for the post-study work stream. But you might be able to apply for the graduate work stream, because this one doesn't have a date. It's for anyone, okay? The tricky thing about the graduate work stream is that you must study a course for 2 years that it's related to an occupation on the medium and long-term strategic skill list, okay? So let's give an example. Let's see what the requirements of this visa is so you can understand. Another, before I pass the slides, just so you know, for you to get this 485 visa, you also need an overall 6 on the IELTS. The age limit is 50 years old, and you also need to pass through health and character test, okay? Perfect. So the graduate visa, the legislation explains that the applicant must satisfy the Australia study requirement in a period of 6 months immediately before the day the application was made. So you need to study those 2 years, the 92 weeks of course, and the course must be diploma, advanced diploma, or higher. Okay. Okay. Each degree, diploma, or trade qualification used for these 2 years of study must be closely related to the nominated occupation. Okay, so if you are nominating an occupation, business analyst, and you study 2 years of diploma or advanced diploma in IT that is related to business analyst, that's what they want to see, all right? If the course that we studied is related to that occupation, if it's really can be used in your day-by-day at work, okay? And when the application was made, you must provide also the skills assessment approved. So that's what I spoke with Pedro last time. If you are a civil engineer and you come to Australia and study diploma and advanced diploma in project management, you can apply the graduate visa explaining to the department that you study 2 years of course, which was the diploma and advanced diploma in project management. This course is closely related to your occupation, civil engineer, because an engineer works in projects all the time, you know, and you have to explain how those subjects are related to your day-by-day, to your work. Mm-hmm. And you need to complete the skills assessment with Engineers Australia. So the legislation says that under policy, the critical factor in determining whether a qualification is closely related to the nominated skill occupation is whether the skill sets underpinning the qualifications are directly transferable to the nominated occupation in terms of both subject matters and the level of qualification, okay? So it says that the skills assessments for an overseas qualification. So if you are qualified in Brazil, you have already a bachelor degree in IT or in engineer, and you have a positive skills assessment with Engineers Australia or Australian Computer Society, you can use these skills assessments that you got with them plus the 2 years of diploma that you did in Australia related to your occupation, and use this diploma to get the graduate visa for 18 months.
All right. We got a question here, Carlo, if you don't mind. People are asking, is there a platform, is there any way that I can find easily to see if a course is closely related to my occupation or to the field that I have studied in my back country or not, my home country?
I think there is, on top of my head, I'm not sure. I don't know where to find it, but sorry, I don't know how to explain. But if you go to, for example, if you are an IT, okay, if you go to the Australian Computer Society website, they have some links that explain how they are going to evaluate you, because the authority that is going to be doing that is the Department of Home Affairs is going to be analyzing that, but it's up to you to explain and show to the case officer, to the public servant from the Department of Home Affairs, let's say like that, how you connect the dots, you know?
Yes.
So the way that I would do, I would get the description of what are the subjects that qualified a web developer, okay? And I would get the diploma and advanced diploma course that you did, and would try to correlate both of them, you know, and show, for example, ANSCO describe what a web developer does on the day by day. Okay, there is a description of their tasks. You get those tasks, you get the subjects of the course that you did, and you try to correlate, you try to connect them. Just try to connect the dots of what you are studying with what is related in relation to your tasks. That's how they're going to be doing, okay? They're going to be looking what ANSCO describes about that occupation and what the course that you are doing is about.
Yes.
Okay. ANSCO, for someone that doesn't know, it's the authorities that describe every single occupation in Australia and New Zealand as well. Okay, so you need to go to ANSCO to find exactly what the description of your occupation is. I can show you. Can I do another share here so I can show you this?
Yes, you're probably gonna need to, because you're sharing only one application.
Radio.
But I'm posting here. We have a chat where people are asking those questions. I'm posting here the ABS, the Australian Bureau of Statistics ANSCO website, so they can have a look.
You are seeing the Australian Computer Society fact sheet about the occupations. Okay, so if I go to software engineer here, you're going to be able to see what a software engineer description duties, what a person would be doing, what a software engineer would be doing a day by day. Okay, research, consulting, analyzing, and evaluating system program needs, blah, 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 blah. So this is a description of what you would be doing on a day by day. And you have to get the course that you studied related to software and show that subject, that what you studied is going to be implemented in one of these tasks here. On a day by day. That's the way that I would be doing my submission. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and probably Engineers Australia, they also have something similar that shows what are the description of the position as well, I guess, because this comes from ANSCO code.
Yeah, I think, and sometimes they also have the subjects what you should have studied to become a software engineer, for example. That's another way as well that you can use to explain what you do. But it's up to you guys. There is no rule. There is no requirement on the legislation. The policy just says, look, you need to show me. You need to show how this diploma and advanced diploma that you have completed is related to your occupation. Okay, so that's the tricky part about applying for the graduate visa through this these skills assessments already completed. Okay, so advantage of you doing a master degree in Australia as well. Another thing that you can do, you can study 2 years of diploma, advanced diploma with mind room. And I believe you guys have also, they can eliminate subjects to complete a master later. Hey, Pedro.
Yes, they can. There are a few universities that we have a pathway and agreement with, and depends on the course they are choosing to do with them, they can eliminate up to 1.5 years. So, for example, we have some students finishing out the advanced diploma of graphic design with us, and they are signed up at SA Institute, Sci Institute in Byron Bay, where they were able to eliminate up to 1.5 years of their qualification. That was 3 years qualification. They're going to come down to 1.5 years. Basically, it will save. It's around $20,000 a year, the qualification. What will save them around $30,000 just because they have done the advanced diploma of graphic design. And the same apply for the diploma of information technology with us. It's 2.5 years qualification, is a bit longer, but also they can eliminate up to 1.5 years if they choose to do MBA or bachelor degree, depends on the university as well.
Yeah, the advantage, guys, of you aiming to do a master degree or a bachelor degree is the time that you're going to get for your 485 visa. Imagine if you guys are able to work full-time in Australia, anywhere in Australia, you know, and you have 2 years to do that, or 3 years if you are in any regional area in Australia. If you are outside of Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane and study a master degree or a university course for 2 years, you can get 3 years to work full-time in Australia. That's plenty of time for you to find a sponsor, you know, or to increase your points and get a skilled visa. Or you can get even a 4th year if you're outside those big regional areas here. So it's gonna give you more option, more opportunities, more chance if you complete your studies with a high degree, okay?
Yes.
However, if you don't have enough money for that, it's more expensive, or if you have plenty of experience in Brazil, you know, these 18 months, it's enough as well. You can find a sponsor opportunity to jump out of this graduate visa to a work visa. I'll show you the timeline of some of my clients, what happened with them. Okay, this is based on on a lot of clients that I have followed from the beginning of their strategies. Let's say like this. So usually this is the timeline. They get a student visa for 2 years, apply for the graduate visa for 18 months. And by the time they are about to finish the graduate visa, or during this time here, they find a sponsor opportunity and jump from the graduate visa to the sponsor visa 482. And after 3 years working for the same employer, they get a permanent visa through the 186 transitional entry, okay? Or they are on the student visa, get the graduate visa, apply for the skilled points at the same time as trying to find a sponsor, and they receive an invitation and they got a permanent visa through the skilled points here. Mm-hmm. Or they came to Australia as a single, you know, found a partner, apply for the partner visa. Or they're in the student visa and they already have all the requirements for the direct entry 186. They already have the skills assessment, 6 on each band on the IELTS, on each component of the IELTS, and more than 3 years of post-qualification work experience. They can be sponsored at any time for this 186. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they'll just bear in mind that if you are on a student visa, you can work only 40 hours fortnight. So as I said, try to work as a part-time or under your ABN, but do not work as casual. Okay, otherwise you won't be able to use this work experience that you are doing in Australia.
Yes, that's really important. I have the same. You know, my case was similar to this, and basically I always choose to work on ABN or part-time, permanent part-time for many reasons, and that's what I recommend my students as well. Carlo, can we have a question here from Fabio that's a bit particular. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer him, but Fabio's asking here that he got his ACS skill assessed and he has only 2.5 years experience, and he was willing to get a sponsor with his company. He would like to know what would be the best visa to apply. I'm not sure if you can answer or if you can give any tip for him or anything.
So he has done the skills assessment. Was his skills assessment approved?
Yes, was.
And he has 2.5 years of work experience?
Yes.
And he has an employer willing to sponsor him?
Yes, he's been working for this employer for 8 months already as part-time.
Okay. Well, I would ask them to sponsor him under the 482 visa, He cannot be sponsored under the other two visas because for the 186 and 494, you need 3 years full-time work experience post-qualification. Mm-hmm. But for the 482 visa, he needs just 2 years full-time work experience. Doesn't need to be post-qualification. And also he needs to prove that he's qualified for whatever he's working with. Okay. But he can jump into the 482 visa here. And there is a few strategies, okay? It depends what his employer wants from him as well. If they want to help him more than keep him there for a long time, because he can get the 482 visa, and after getting 3 years full-time work experience post-qualification, he applied from the 482, he can apply for the 186 direct entry. Yes. To speed up the process. Mm-hmm. But he has a few options here. I just need to speak with a migration agent and with his employer to figure out which one is the best option. But he got the hardest thing about this process, he already got, which is the sponsor opportunity. Yes. You already have someone wanting to sponsor him.
No, that's true.
If you want me to get in touch with your employer or have a look in your resume to make sure to make sure that you really qualify for these visas, just send me an email. I'll leave my email here, talk@bluemigration.com.au.
Yeah, I'm gonna type here as well. We got another question here from Anonymous actually. They say that the problem with the sponsorship visa is if they get fired and they don't find another sponsor in 60 days, they have to leave the country, cannot come back for 3 years. Is that correct or not?
It's partially correct. The thing is, like, when you are sponsored by someone, by a company, you are bound to work just for that company, okay? You cannot work for anybody else. And if they fire you or the company, the business shut down or something happened, you are not happy there, you want to move to another company, you need to find another sponsor. If they fire you, you have 60 days to find another sponsor. But this is the regulation. The practicality is totally different. Okay, mm-hmm. I have a client that he lost his job. He lost his sponsor, and he stayed 1 year in Australia looking for a sponsor. And the Department of Home Affairs did not contact him. Basically they forgot about him, And we found another sponsor, lodged another application, linked his new process to his visa, and he didn't have any problems with it. So this is a very gray area where the regulation says you have 60 days for one of the visas and 90, I believe, for the regional visa, 90 days to find another sponsor, 60 for the 482. I think that's the way or the other way around. I can check that in details whenever they speak with me. Mm-hmm. But the practicality is totally different. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, that's fine. And another question here. So because people ask, with the 485 visa, we have few benefits in applying for the 485 visa. That's, I think you gain the first stream that you said that the post graduation is for people who study the trade qualification or a diploma or a higher degree. Mm-hmm. They gain 1.5 years. And basically with this 1.5 years, they can work full time. And most companies here in Australia, they start to be willing to sponsor someone after they show how capable they are to perform their job. So if a student is still decide about, okay, should I apply for 485 visa or not apply for 85 visa, what are the costs involved in terms of the application or in terms of hiring your services or to get this 485 visa? I know that we have the the course cost. The course going to cost the students some money, and they have the visa and perhaps the health and character test or anything like that. Is it an expensive visa or not?
The 45 visa, the department's fee, I think it's 1,600 something. Okay, this is paid to the Department of Home Affairs. Right? My fees to apply for the 45 visa, I have two different fees. One that involves skills assessment and the other that doesn't. Basically on this process that we spoke, where they are going to get the skills assessments by themselves, and they just need someone to apply for the 45 visa, I charge $1,500 plus GST. Okay. And to help them out, I always let them pay in installments. They can pay in 3 monthly installments of $550 a month. Okay. Some other process like trade chefs, cooks, and when involves a skills assessment application prior the lodgement for the 45, then I charge a bit more because there is much more work with the skills assessment. In the case that we're talking here about Engineers Australia and Australian Computer Society, if they get the skills assessments by themselves, that's the fee that I charge, 1,500 plus GST, plus the visa fee charged by the department, which is 1,600 something. So it's going to end up around $3,300, something like that.
Well, if they're going to gain possibility to gain 1.5 years of full-time work in Australia, I think I see it as investment, especially because they can perhaps find a sponsorship or they can find other paths to stay in Australia.
And look, and some of the students come to Australia, qualify themselves, and they don't have experience. They're working on getting all the experience in Australia, and then they might ask, well, but I'm gonna have just 1.5 years here to work full time. But for me to be sponsored under the 42, I need 2 years full time. So how that's gonna work? Like I don't have enough time to get the 2 years here. That's fine. If you don't get the 2 years, there is a training visa that can be used at the end of the graduate visa here, the subclass 407. This training visa, it's for you to enhance your skills, to keep working for up to 2 years more, so you can increase your skills. And that would be a strategy for you to gain that 2 years work experience to be sponsored.
All right. And another question here, and I think that we have only 2 more questions. Can you combine 2 courses and 2 visas to complete this 92 weeks, or have to be in 1 visa only and 1 course only?
No, you can have more than 1 visa and you can have more than 1 course if both courses are closely related to the occupation that you are using for this graduate visa. Okay, the occupation that you are going to be nominating here to get the graduate work stream, this is important, must be on the medium and long-term strategic skill list. So if you are an IT, must be one of these occupations here: ICT business and systems analysts, multimedia specialists and web developers, software and application programmers, database and systems administrators, and ICT security specialists, and computer network professionals, telecommunications engineering professionals as well. So just this group of occupations here, the course must be related to them. All
right. And another question here from Nayara is, if I have studied a certificate for in a diploma, does it count or only counts diploma and advanced diploma and of course higher qualification?
Just diploma, advanced. The course must be higher than diploma. The only exception is for trade occupations. Okay, trade occupations, they are all qualified as certificates. Okay, carpentry certificate 3, cookery certificate 4. Then the trade occupations can be certificates. But if you are talking about these occupations, IT and engineering, must be diploma or higher. Certificates are not acceptable.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, Let me see if there's any more questions here from our group of people. No more questions. Yes, one more question here. A question here from Andre is, I have 2 courses under my visa at the moment. I would like to know, is it possible to change my second course before I start it, or I cannot change a course?
Yeah, you can change your course without applying for another student visa if you are changing for a course at the same level or higher than what you are studying. Okay, for example, if you have a student visa, you got that student visa on the base that you applied for an advanced diploma. You cannot change the advanced diploma to do a diploma. You're going down, the level of course. You has to be advanced diploma or higher.
That's perfect. Yes, and the last question here, after having my ACS skill assessment as associate degree with major in compute and 5 years experience, could I study a diploma that's closely related to the occupation I'm applying for to count on points?
Yeah, it can count on points. If it's 2 years diploma or advanced diploma, and they are closer related, the diploma and advanced diploma, to get the 5 points for the Australian study requirement, doesn't need to be closer related. Okay, you just by studying any course that is diploma level or higher for 2 years, you get 5 points. Okay, but to use that 2 years that you got the 5 points to get the graduate visa, that's another thing. That's when it has to be closely related. Okay,
perfect. Let me see if any more questions here. You show the list there that web.
By studying any course that is diploma level or higher for 2 years, you get 5 points.
Yes.
Okay. But to use that 2 years that you got the 5 points to get the graduate visa, that's another thing. That's when it has to be closely related. Okay.
Let me see if any more questions here. So the last question here is, he said that the list that you showed here, that multimedia specialists and web developers, it is one of the, say that it is in the long term or is in the short term?
It's on the medium long. It's the medium long term.
Medium long term. Okay. Yeah. All right. Guess that's it. Let me see. Any more questions here from my side? I have no more questions, and we don't have any more questions here on live. The last what I was going to say is, not sure if people who were here before, but Australian, sometimes Australia change, not Australia, the ASCO, an Australian Quality Authority skill, changed some courses, and now our course of Diploma of Website Development it got superseded for the Diploma of Information Technology with some specialization. So we have 2 new courses now, starting January next year. We have Diploma of Information Technology with web development specialization with front-end and back-end specialization. And we have the Diploma of Information Technology with business analyst specialization. So those 2 courses, just for people who are wondering, they are 92 academic weeks, and they have a total of 2 years and 3 months. So around 117 weeks of course and 92 academic weeks. To combine these together to allow students perhaps to apply for 485 visa if they have the ACS occupation clear with them. Let me see if I got any. I think yes, no more questions. No, let me see if any more questions on Facebook. You're live here as well.
Just a last tip.
Yeah.
Because someone asked about the problem about getting a sponsorship, and something happened, and you have just 60 days to find an employer. Look, it's you guys that wants to migrate to Australia. You need to know that there are risks. Okay, it doesn't matter which pathway, which avenue you are going to choose. There is always risks that is out of your control. Okay, so you're always going to be depending on someone. So just I think the way that it works, like, you just need to have a positive thought, and have a strategy, and increase your chance as much as you can, and let it go. And you have to trust your employer if you are going through this pathway, but also at the same time that you are with your employer, keep building up your points and apply for the skilled visa. Leave this application there, in case if you receive an invitation, you can always jump from the sponsor visa to the skilled visa. Okay. And if during this whole time you found a relationship, it's all about how you feel more comfortable with, because here you depend on your partner. Skilled visa, you depend on the government inviting you. And on the employer pathway, you depend on your employer, on the business. You're always going to be depending on something. So do your best, think positive, and have a strategy to increase your chance on finding a sponsor and building up your points. Just focus on these two here, This one happens. It's not it's something that you don't plan much, okay? The family sponsored, but finding a job, it's like you're in Brazil, you're in Australia. Let's look for a job. Let's search. Let me improve my resume, my skills. Let me speak with someone about how to pass through an interview. There are so many things that you can do to increase your chance of getting a good job. There are so many opportunities to work in Australia. And if you are good at what you do, I'm pretty sure you're going to find an opportunity. Okay. So that's how I think, and I think that's how you guys should think as well.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I think if they keep looking to the target and what they want to achieve, and they continue working towards the same goal, it will happen.
Yeah, Pedro, thank you very much for this invitation to speak with your students. The video is going to be recorded there. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to watch later on as well. And if you guys have any more questions or want to set up a strategy for you, just send me an email. I charge $165 for an appointment, okay? And it's an appointment where I'm going to study your professional curriculum. And I'm going to tell you your chance of passing through the skills assessment, everything that you have to do it. And also, I'm going to explain more in detail about how you can get a sponsor or improve your points, because there is not a general, there is the general rule, but every single person has their own pathway. Okay, because it depends on where you qualified, and what's your work experience, your level of English. The university that you study in Brazil, we have to check if your university is recognized in Australia or not. So if your intention is to migrate to Australia, first thing that you need to do is to speak with a migration agent. If you don't want to speak with me, speak with another one. Get two opportunities, two opinions. It's always good to have more than one opinion, but that's the first money that you have to invest. It's to speak with someone that understands how this process works, because it's a complex process that changes all the time. Okay, so that's my tip. Thank you very much for this invitation, Pedro. If
Thank
you need anything,
Carlo.
I'm always here, mate.
Thank you so much for answering all those questions, and especially explaining the possible pathways to migrate to Australia and come down to the 485 visa, and explaining so well. Thank you for that. I really appreciate. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you all for who joined us tonight here and spoke with us. And wish you all a lovely evening. Enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy your weekend. I see you when I see you. See you, Carlos. Thanks so much, man.
See you later.